Hey everyone, this is FIDE Master Kostya here for Chess.com, and today I'm going to be doing part 2 of this really exciting game where I sacrificed this bishop on c2. For the introduction to this game, definitely check out part 1, and here we're going to continue from where we left off, where white had just played this move f4, keeping the e-file closed and keeping his double attack against the knight on f6 and the bishop on c2. So I only had really one move to play here. I have to play the move knight g4. Everything else allows white to take a piece pretty much for free. So the point of knight g4 is that if queen takes c2, I of course take their bishop on e3. And this dark squared bishop is one of white's most important pieces because it's protecting all the dark squares. So I would be very happy to trade my bishop for this bishop because white's position is probably very loose at this point, and I'm hitting the queen, I'm attacking this pawn on d5, and I'm also hitting this other bishop on f1. So black's position is definitely pretty good here. I mean, I'm even up a pawn and I have a lot of attacking resources left. So one of the critical lines here, of course, is if white plays the intermediate move, bishop takes b6. So he takes a piece, attacks my queen, I recapture, and he takes this bishop. So now I have no way of recapturing my piece, but I do have this interesting check on f2. And I had to calculate all this from the very beginning of this video when I played rook c8, which I think is pretty interesting, and as you'll see, I had to find a really creative move to justify this whole sacrifice. So after queen f2 check, white can't play king d1 because knight e3 check wins the queen, but white can play king d2. Now, if I want, I could play queen e3 check. If white plays king d1, I'll have knight f2 check. And after king e1, I can simply repeat moves and make a draw. I was trying to find a way to continue the attack. And then I found the very strong move, bishop d8. And the point of this move is that the bishop is going to be relocated to either b6 or a5. And my last piece is coming into the attack, and white's position is pretty much on the verge of collapse. What I have to realize here is that white doesn't actually have an easy way to untangle. His king is stuck in the center, his rooks are disconnected, and there's no obvious way for them to sort of repel the attack. And I'll show you what I mean. So, for example, if king c1, trying to get the king to safety, I have knight e3, hitting the queen and winning back my piece. And of course, as you guys probably know already, is that if I can win back my piece and continue the attack, well, that's fantastic. It's always nice to attack for free, right? The other move I was looking at is rook h3, with the point of covering this e3 square, so now black doesn't even have a perpetual with queen e3 and queen f2. And here I found a very nice win, starting with e3 check. And if the king moves back to the first rank, then I can take this bishop on f1. So the king should come to d3. And now if you want to pause your videos and find a forced win for black, go ahead. The win is knight e5 check. A very nice move. King d4, then bishop b6 check. If king e4, then this knight is going to move with a discovery, and white is definitely going to lose. For example, king e4, and I think knight c6 check is pretty sufficient. King d3, knight b4 check wins the queen, or okay, king d4, bishop b6 is a nice mate. And if king f5, I believe I can play rook e5, king g4, and yeah, rook takes g5, and knight e5 mate. So if f takes e5, then queen f5 check, and I'm at least winning white's queen. So seeing this line, seeing that white has no way to really untangle their pieces, I realized that black must be winning here because the bishop is going to come to a5 or b6, and some very bad things are going to be happening along white's dark squares. Remember when I said that white's dark squared bishop was a very important piece? Well, this is exactly why. So my opponent saw that he was probably in trouble after bishop takes b6, and he found definitely the best practical chance here. He played bishop h3. During the game, I actually overlooked this move in my initial calculations after rook c8, because I assumed that if I can take this bishop on e3, I should probably be fine. I mean, the dark squares are going to be weak, and more likely than not, I'm going to have very good attacking chances, even if I'm down a piece or an exchange. But after bishop h3, I realized that if knight takes e3, he doesn't have to play queen takes e3, after which I can move my rook and my bishop will be safe on d3, but he can simply play bishop takes c8. And my knight is hanging, and if the knight moves, my bishop is hanging. So what's going on here is that black is probably losing an exchange. So like knight g2 check, king f1, I take on c8, he takes on g2, and I can give a check, but knight g3, I can save my bishop. But white is up in exchange, and the position is actually closed because there are very few open files, and white's king looks pretty safe actually here on g2. Queen f3 check, king h3, and I don't really have anything. The problem for black is that this knight is out of play, and this bishop and rook are also not doing a whole lot. So I wasn't really happy with this position, and I was looking for another response to this bishop h3 move. And at this point, we're going to pause again, and I'm going to show you guys the conclusion of this game next time in part 3 of this video. And I would strongly recommend that while you're at home, you maybe set up the board and analyze this position and try to find the best way for black to continue. And black does have a way here to achieve a winning attack with some very precise and strong sacrificial tactical blows. So until then, I hope you guys have a lot of fun analyzing this position. Thanks a lot for listening, and I'll see you around on Chess.com.